The deep hum of Colony Station Nexus filled the air as Jake Martinez walked through the lower maintenance tunnels. His work boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The station was huge, bigger than most cities back on Earth. It floated in, space between the stars, a place where humans and aliens came to trade and make deals. Jake liked working down here in the quiet tunnels where few people came. Jake was not like the other humans on the station. He was quiet and kept to himself. While other humans tried to make big deals and get rich quick, Jake just wanted to do his job and be left alone. He fixed the machines that kept everyone alive. The air they breathed, the water they drank, the lights that kept the darkness away. Jake made sure it all worked. Today felt different, though. As Jake walked toward his next repair job, he heard voices coming from around the corner. They were not friendly voices. Someone was in trouble. Jake stopped and looked around the corner. 3 big aliens stood in a circle around someone much smaller. The aliens were Vrathan, a race that looked like giant lizards walking on 2 legs. Their scales were dark green and their teeth were sharp. They were traders who sold weapons and rare metals to whoever had enough money. In the middle of the circle was a young alien girl. She had blue scales that shone like jewels and large golden eyes. Jake knew she was a Catherian. There were not many of her people left. Most had died when the Dominion Coalition attacked their home world 2 years ago. The few who escaped lived as refugees on stations like this one. The biggest Vrathan was talking in a loud, angry voice. "You owe us money, little fish. Protection. Costs credits on this station." The girl shook her head. Her voice was soft and scared. "I never asked for protection. I have no money. I work in the plant gardens for food tokens only." "Everyone pays protection," another Vrathan said. He reached out with a clawed hand and pushed her shoulder. "Your people should have thought about money before they let themselves get beaten in the war." The third Vrathan laughed. It was not a nice sound. "Weak people always find excuses. Maybe you need to learn what happens when you don't pay." The girl stumbled backward as the first Vrathan pushed her harder. A small cut appeared on her arm where his claw had touched her. Blue blood, the same color as her scales, started to drip onto the floor. Jake felt something hot and angry grow in his chest. He had seen bullies before. Back on Earth, bigger kids had picked on smaller ones all the time. But this was different. This was 3 adults hurting someone who could not fight back, someone who had already lost everything. Most people would walk away. Humans and aliens both usually said it was not their problem. The station had rules about not getting involved in other people's business. But Jake could not make his feet move away from what he was seeing. Instead, Jake stepped around the corner and walked toward the group. His heart was beating fast, but his voice was calm when he spoke. "Is there a problem here?" The 3 Vrathan turned to look at him. The biggest, one showed his sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. "No problem, human. Just business talk. Walk away." Jake did not walk away. He moved closer and stood next to the Catherian girl. She looked up at him with surprise in her golden eyes. No one had stood near her in a long time. "It looks like the lady said she doesn't want your business." "The lady is a refugee who lives on our charity," the second Vrathan said. His voice was getting louder. "All refugees pay protection tax, station rules." "I know the station rules," Jake said. He had read every rule book when he started working here. "There is no protection tax. What you're doing is called stealing." The biggest Vrathan took a step toward Jake. He was much taller and his claws looked very sharp. "You want to make this your problem, little human? Your people are tough, but you are just one." Jake looked up at the alien. Fear was trying to crawl up his throat, but he pushed it down. "Maybe I am just one, but I know every system on this station, including the environmental controls for your cargo bay. Would be sad if something went wrong with the air recycling in Section 7. All that expensive metal you're storing might get damaged." The Vrathan's eyes went wide. Their cargo was worth more money than they would make in a year of protection. Schemes. They could not afford to lose it. You would not dare, the third Vrathan said, but his voice was not as sure as before. Jake pulled out his work tablet and showed them his access codes. Try me. For a long moment, nobody moved. The Catherian girl stood very still between Jake and the Vrathan. Her golden eyes moved back and forth between them like she was watching a dangerous game. Finally, the biggest Vrathan made a sound like an angry snake. This is not over, human. You made an enemy today. Good, Jake said. I would not want friends, like you anyway. The three Vrathan walked away, their claws clicking on the metal floor, but Jake could tell they were angry. They would remember this. When they were gone, the Catherian girl looked up at Jake. Why did you help me? You do not even know my name. I'm Jake, he said. And I helped because it was the right thing to do. What's your name? Zara, she said, softly. I work in the hydroponics bay. I grow food plants for the station. Nice to meet you, Zara. Jake looked at the cut on her arm. You should get that looked at. The medical bay is not far. Zara touched the cut and winced. The medical bay costs credits. I only have food tokens. Jake felt that angry heat in his chest again. A person was hurt and could not get help because she had no money. I have medical insurance through my job. I'll take you. Zara stared at him like he had just offered to give her a spaceship. You would do that? But why? I am nobody. My people lost the war. Everyone says we deserved what happened to us. Jake looked into her golden eyes and saw something. He recognized the look of someone who had been hurt so many times they expected it from everyone. Everyone is wrong then. Come on, let's get you fixed up. As they walked toward the medical bay, Jake wondered what he had gotten himself into. The Vrathan would not forget what happened today. Other people might not understand why he helped an alien refugee. His boss might even be angry if he found out. But when Jake looked at Zara walking beside him, her head held a little higher than before, he knew he had made the right choice. Sometimes doing the right thing was more important than doing the safe thing. Sometimes one person standing up could make all the difference, even if that person was just a quiet maintenance worker who preferred to stay in the shadows. 3 days had passed since Jake helped Zara in the maintenance tunnel. The medical bay had fixed her cut with a simple spray that made the blue blood stop and the skin grow back together. Zara had been amazed that the treatment cost Jake nothing because of his job benefits. She kept thanking him until he felt embarrassed and told her it was no big deal, but it was a big deal to Zara. Jake learned this when she found him during his lunch break in the small cafeteria where station workers ate cheap meals. She sat down, across from him with a tray of plant food that looked like colorful soup. I brought you something, Zara said. She pulled a small potted plant from her work bag. The plant had silver leaves and tiny white flowers that seemed to glow with their own light. It is a moon bloom from my home world, one of the few seeds I saved. Jake stared at the plant. He had never owned anything so beautiful. I can't take this. It must be worth a lot of money. Money? Zara looked confused. Money cannot buy moon blooms. They only grow for people who care for others without wanting anything back, like you did for me. Jake carefully took the pot. The plant felt warm in his hands. Thank you. I'll take good care of it. I know you will, Zara said. That is why it will grow for you. As they ate lunch together, Zara told Jake about her life before the war. She had been studying to become a plant scientist on her home world. Catherians believed that all life was connected, that helping plants grow made everything better. They spent their time learning how to make gardens in space, how to grow food on dead planets, how to bring life to empty places. That sounds peaceful, Jake said. Why did the Dominion attack you? Zara's golden eyes became sad. Because we were peaceful. The Dominion said peaceful people were weak. They said the galaxy belonged to the strong. She stirred her soup slowly. We tried to fight back, but we were not good at war. We were good at growing things, not destroying them. Jake thought about his own people. Humans were good at fighting, maybe too good. They had fought wars on Earth for thousands of years before going to the stars. But they were also good at other things, like building and protecting and fixing what was broken. Maybe being good at growing things is better than being good at war, Jake said. Zara smiled for the first time since he had. Mether, my teachers used to say that anyone can destroy, but it takes wisdom to create. Their conversation was interrupted when 3 human workers sat down at the table next to them. Jake recognized them from the engineering department. One of them, a man named Rick Stone, was talking loudly enough for everyone to hear. I heard Martinez has been hanging around with that blue refugee, Rick said. Makes you wonder about his loyalty. Yeah, said another man. Humans didn't become a major power by helping the losers. We got strong by taking care of our own first. The third man laughed. Maybe he thinks if he's nice to her, she'll share some alien secrets. You know how these engineer types think. Jake felt his face get hot. He started to stand up, but Zara put her hand on his arm. Her touch was gentle but firm. Do not let them make you angry, she said quietly. Angry words only create more anger. They're talking about us like we're not even here, Jake said. I am used to it, Zara said. Most people think refugees are either dangerous or worthless. They do not see us as real people with real feelings. Jake looked at her calm face and felt ashamed. Here he was getting upset about a few rude comments, while Zara dealt with much worse every day. How do you stay so peaceful about it? My people learned long ago that hatred hurts the person who feels it more than the person it is aimed at, Zara said. Besides, not everyone thinks like them. You do not think like them. After lunch, Jake walked Zara back to the hydroponics bay where she worked. The bay was a huge room filled with growing plants under bright artificial suns. The air smelled like earth and rain and growing things. It was the most beautiful place Jake had ever seen on the station. This is amazing, Jake said, looking at rows of vegetables and fruit trees from a dozen different worlds. I work in the experimental section, Zara said, leading him to a smaller room. We try to grow new kinds of plants that can survive in different places. Jake watched Zara work with the plants. Her hands moved like she was dancing as she checked each one, adjusting lights and water and nutrients. The plants seemed to lean toward her touch. You really love this, Jake said. Plants are honest, Zara replied. They do not lie or hate or hurt others for fun. If you take care of them, they take care of you. If you ignore them, they die. It is simple and fair. Jake was about to respond when the door to the bay opened. 3 Vrathan traders walked in, the same ones from the tunnel. But this time, they were not alone. 2 other aliens were with them, tall gray beings with 4 arms and cold black eyes. Jake had never seen their species before. The biggest Vrathan saw Jake and Zara and walked over. Well, well, the human and his pet are here together. How sweet. We are not causing trouble, Zara said. I am just working. Your work is trouble, one of the gray aliens said. His voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. Catherian plants carry diseases. They make other species sick. Jake knew this was not true. All plants brought to the station were tested for safety. That's a lie. The medical department checks everything. Medical department makes mistakes, the Vrathan said. Maybe someone should report safety concerns. Get this whole section closed down for inspection. Jake understood the threat. If the hydroponics bay was closed, Zara would lose her job and her food tokens. She would have to leave the station with nowhere to go. What do you want? Jake asked. Same thing we always want, the Vrathan replied. Payment for protection. But now the price has gone up. You cost us business in the tunnel. How much? Zara asked quietly. 100 credits. Every week. Jake felt his stomach drop. Zara probably made 20 credits worth of food tokens in a whole month. There was no way she could pay. And if we refuse? Jake asked. The gray alien smiled, showing teeth like broken glass. Accidents happen in hydroponic bays. Plants die. People get hurt. Very sad. Jake looked around the beautiful garden that Zara had helped create. All those plants depending on her care. All that life and growth and hope. These aliens wanted to destroy it for money. Give us time to think about it, Jake said. One day, the Vrathan said, tomorrow we come back for an answer. After they left, Zara sat down on a work stool and put her head in her hands. I am sorry, Jake. I should have stayed away from you. Now you are in trouble because of me. Hey, Jake said, sitting next to her. We're in this together now. We'll figure something out. How? I have no money and no friends except you. These aliens have power and connections. They can make life very hard for both of us. Jake looked at the moonbloom plant Zara had given him, sitting on her work table where she had been caring for it, along with her other plants. Even in this scary situation, she had been taking care of something he valued. Maybe we don't have money or power, Jake said, but we have something they don't. What is that? We're right. And sometimes being right is more powerful than being strong. Zara looked up at him with those golden eyes. You really believe that? I have to, Jake said, because if I don't believe that good people can win sometimes, then what's the point of being good? As they sat together in the garden, surrounded by growing things and the smell of life, Jake made a promise to himself. He would not let these bullies destroy what Zara had built. He would not let them win. He just had to figure out how. Jake spent the night thinking about the problem. He sat in his small room looking at the moonbloom plant and trying to come up with a plan. 100 credits every week was impossible for Zara to pay. Even if Jake helped with his own money, it would not be enough, and paying would just encourage the Vrathan to ask for more. The next morning, Jake went to work early. He had an idea, but it was risky. If it failed, both he and Zara could end up in serious trouble. But doing nothing meant watching the aliens destroy everything Zara cared about. Jake's job gave him access to the station's computer systems. Not the important security files, but the basic operational data that kept the station running. Things like power usage, air recycling, water consumption, and waste management. Boring stuff that most people ignored. But Jake had learned that boring stuff could tell you a lot about what people were really doing. He started by looking at the Vrathan cargo bay in Section 7. The three traders claimed to be selling metals and weapons, but their power usage was strange. They were using too much electricity for simple storage. The air recycling in their section was working harder than it should, and their waste output included chemicals that did not match their declared cargo. Jake cross-referenced this data with other sections of the station. A pattern started to emerge. Several cargo bays owned by different alien traders showed the same unusual readings. Too much power, overworked air systems, strange chemical waste. It looked like these traders were not just storing goods, they were manufacturing something that required a lot of energy and produced toxic waste, something they did not want the station authorities to know about. Jake printed out the data and put it in his work bag. Then he went to find Zara in the hydroponics bay. She was working with a group of small purple flowers, adjusting their growing lights with careful precision. I think I found something, Jake said quietly. But we need to be careful how we use it. Zara looked up from her work. She had not slept well either. What did you find? Jake showed her the data printouts. Your Vrathan friends are not just traders. They're running some kind of illegal factory in their cargo bay, along with several other groups on the station. Zara studied the numbers. Catherians were naturally good with patterns and systems, part of their plant-growing abilities. This Does not look like normal storage, she agreed. But what are they making? I don't know yet, Jake said. But whatever it is, they don't want station security to find out. That gives us leverage. You want to threaten them like they threatened us? Jake shook his head. Not threaten. Negotiate. We give them a choice. They leave us alone, or we report their illegal activities to Commander Stone. Zara was quiet for a moment. That could work, but it could also make them very angry. Angry enough to hurt us before security can stop them. That's the risk, Jake admitted. But what's the alternative? Keep paying forever? Watch them destroy your work here? Before Zara could answer, the door to the hydroponics bay burst open. The 3 Vrathan traders marched in, along with their gray alien friends, and 2 more species Jake had never seen before. 6 aliens total, all of them looking mean and ready for trouble. Time's up, the biggest Vrathan announced. You have our money? Jake stepped in front of Zara. We have something better, information. The Vrathan's eyes narrowed. What kind of information? Jake pulled out the data printouts. The kind that explains why your cargo bay uses 3 times more power than it should, and why your air recyclers are processing industrial chemicals that aren't supposed to exist on a trading station. The aliens exchanged glances. The gray one with 4 arms spoke up. You are playing a dangerous game, human. So are you, Jake replied. Manufacturing illegal goods on a neutral station is a serious crime. Commander Stone would be very interested in this data. You have no proof of manufacturing, one of the new aliens said. This one looked like a giant insect with too many legs. Only numbers on paper. Numbers that would justify a full security inspection, Jake said. Complete scan of all your cargo bays, chemical analysis of your waste systems, detailed review of your import and export records. The Vrathan leader made that angry snake sound again. Even if you report us, it would take days for an investigation. We could make you disappear long before then. Jake felt his heart pounding, but he kept his voice steady. You could try, but I'm not the only one who knows about this data. This was a lie, but Jake hoped they would believe it. The aliens looked at each other again, having a silent conversation with their eyes. Besides, Zara spoke up from behind Jake. You are thinking too small. Everyone turned to look at her. She stepped up beside Jake, her golden eyes calm and determined. You want to make money, Zara continued. But you are doing it the hard way. Threatening people, running illegal factories, hiding from security. What if there was an easier way? What are you talking about? The gray alien asked. Zara gestured around the hydroponics bay. This station needs more food production. The population is growing, but the growing space is not. I could help you set up legal farming operations. Clean, profitable, no risk of arrest. Jake stared at Zara. This was not part of any plan they had discussed, but he could see the intelligence behind her offer. She was giving the aliens a way to make money without making enemies. Farming? The insect alien clicked his mandibles. We are traders, not gardeners. Traders sell what people need, Zara said. Food is something people always need. And I know how to grow food that will survive in cargo holds during long space flights. Fresh food sells for much more than preserved food. The Vrathan leader was thinking. Jake could see the calculation in his reptilian eyes. Legal profits versus illegal risks. How much money are we talking about? The Vrathan asked. More than you make now, Zara said confidently. And you keep all of it instead of sharing with whoever you're hiding from. Jake realized what Zara was doing. She was not just offering them a business deal. She was offering them a way out of whatever criminal organization they were working for. A chance to go legitimate. You would help us? The gray alien asked suspiciously. After we threatened you? Everyone deserves a chance to choose a better path, Zara said. Even people who make bad choices at first. The aliens talked among themselves in low voices and strange languages. Jake could not understand the words, but he could tell they were arguing. Some wanted to accept Zara's offer. Others wanted to stick with threats and violence. Finally, the Vrathan leader turned back to them. "We will consider your proposal, but if this is a trick, if you try to betray us, you will regret it." "It's not a trick," Zara said. "Meet me here tomorrow morning. I'll show you what legal farming can do." After the aliens left, Jake turned to Zara with amazement. "That was incredible. Where did that come from?" "My people always believed that the best way to stop an enemy is to make them a friend," Zara said. "Fighting only creates more fighting, but offering something valuable can change everything." "Do you really think they'll go for it?" Zara smiled. "They are bullies because they think it is the only way to get what they want. But if we show them a better way, some of them will take it. Not all, but some." Jake looked around the hydroponics bay with new eyes. It was not just a garden anymore. It was a place where enemies could become allies, where violence could become cooperation, where the future could be different from the past. "You know what?" Jake said. "I think you might be right." As they worked together that afternoon, planning for tomorrow's meeting, Jake realized something important. Humans were not the only species with good ideas about how to solve problems. Sometimes the best solutions came from working together, combining human determination with alien wisdom. Sometimes the strongest thing you could do was offer your hand instead of making a fist. The next morning brought bad news. Jake arrived at the hydroponics bay to find Zara standing in front of a disaster. Someone had broken into the experimental section during the night. Plants were torn from their growing beds. Expensive equipment was smashed, and toxic chemicals had been poured over everything. "When did you find this?" Jake asked, looking at the destruction. "An hour ago," Zara said. Her voice was calm, but Jake could see tears in her golden eyes. Whoever did this knew exactly what would cause the most damage. Jake walked through the ruined section. Months of careful work had been destroyed in one night. The moonbloom plant he had given Zara was lying on its side, its silver leaves wilted and dying. "The Vrathan?" Jake asked. "Maybe. Or maybe the people they work for." Zara knelt down and gently picked up the moonbloom. "I think our offer yesterday scared someone who does not want those aliens to go legitimate." Jake felt that familiar anger rising in his chest, but this time it was different. This was not just anger at bullies picking on someone weaker. This was anger at people who destroyed beautiful things for no good reason. "We have to report this to security," Jake said. "With what proof?" Zara asked. "There are no cameras in this section. No witnesses. Security will write a report and file it away with all the other unsolved crimes." Jake knew she was right. The station was too big and security was too busy to investigate every act of vandalism, especially vandalism against refugees that nobody cared about. But Jake cared. And he was starting to realize that maybe caring was more powerful than he had thought. "Help me clean this up," Jake said. "Then I have some people I want you to meet." They spent the morning salvaging what they could from the destroyed section. The moonbloom was badly damaged, but still alive. Zara worked over it with gentle hands and growing solutions, trying to nurse it back to health. "There," she said finally. "It might survive. Moonblooms are tougher than they look." "Like their owner," Jake said. After lunch, Jake led Zara down to the lower levels of the station where most people never went. These were the maintenance areas, the storage rooms, the forgotten spaces where the real work of keeping everyone alive happened. "Where are we going?" Zara asked as they walked through narrow corridors lit by emergency lighting. "To meet the people who really run this station," Jake said. They came to a large maintenance room filled with humming machinery. 5 humans were sitting around a metal table eating lunch from work bags. They looked up when Jake and Zara entered. "Everyone, this is Zara," Jake said. "Zara, meet the people who keep this place from falling apart." There was Betty Collins, a small woman with grease under her fingernails who maintained the air recycling systems. Danny Park, a young man who managed waste processing and knew where every piece of garbage on the station came from. Lisa Brooks, who ran the water purification systems and could tell you everything about what people consumed. Maria Santos, who maintained the power grid and knew exactly how much energy every section used. And Tom Wilson, who managed the computer networks that connected everything together. Jake told us what happened to your garden, Betty said. That's not right. People destroying growing things for no reason. Happens more than it should, Danny added. We see all the waste, all the broken stuff that gets thrown away. Half of it is good equipment that somebody broke just to hurt someone else. Zara looked around at the group. Jake said you really run the station. What did he mean? Lisa laughed. The big shots upstairs make the decisions, but we make things work. They say turn on the lights and we make sure there's power. They say provide clean air and we keep the recyclers running. We also see things, Maria said. When people are up to no good, they leave traces. Extra power usage, unusual waste, strange computer activity. Tom nodded. Like those illegal factories Jake found data on. We've been watching those for weeks. Why? Didn't you report them? Zara asked. To who? Betty replied. Security? They're too busy with big political stuff to care about technical violations. Station management? They only care if it affects profit margins. Jake sat down at the table. But what if we gave them a reason to care? What if we showed them that these illegal operations are connected to bigger problems? What kind of bigger? Problems? Danny asked. Jake looked at Zara. They had talked about this on the way down. Tell them what you told me about your people's war. Zara took a deep breath. The Dominion Coalition did not just attack my home world. They have been taking over systems across this part of the galaxy. Always the same pattern. First, they send agents to cause trouble on neutral stations and planets. Make different species fight each other. Then they arrive as peacekeepers to restore order. And once they're in control, they don't leave, Jake added. This station is supposed to be neutral territory. But if the Dominion can prove it's not safe, they can justify taking it over. The maintenance workers looked at each other. These were smart people who understood how systems worked. They could see the pattern. You think the illegal factories are part of that? Tom asked. I think they're making weapons, Jake said. Not for sale, for use. When the time comes to create chaos on this station. Maria pulled out her work tablet and started typing. Let me check something. After a few minutes, she looked up with a grim expression. Power usage in the factory sections has tripled in the last month. Whatever they're making a lot of it. And the waste analysis shows chemical signatures consistent with explosive manufacturing, Danny added, checking his own records. Betty stood up. So what do we do about it? Jake looked around the table at these hard-working people who kept everyone safe. We do what we do best. We fix the problem. How? Lisa asked. By working together, Zara said. Each of you knows part of the station's systems. Together you know everything. You can see things that security misses because you understand how everything connects. And we have something the bad guys don't expect, Jake added. We actually care about protecting people instead of just making money or gaining power. Tom was already working on his tablet. I can track communication patterns, see who's coordinating these factory operations, cross-reference that with Danny's waste data and Maria's power readings. I can map out their locations using the air recycling data, Betty said. These factories have to vent somewhere, and I can identify their supply chains through the water usage patterns, Lisa added. Manufacturing takes a lot of clean water. Zara looked amazed. You can really do all that? We can do more than that, Jake said. We can prove that this station is being deliberately destabilized by outside forces. Give security and management. Evidence they can't ignore. But that's dangerous, Maria warned. If these people are really Dominion agents, they won't hesitate to kill us if they feel threatened. Jake nodded. That's the risk. But what's the alternative? Let them succeed? Watch this station fall like Zara's homeworld did? The group was quiet for a moment. These were not warriors or heroes from stories. They were ordinary working people with families and bills and everyday problems. But they were also the people who made civilization possible, who kept the lights on and the air clean and the systems running. I'm in, Betty said finally. This is our home too. We have a right to protect it. One by one, the others agreed. Even though they were scared, even though it was dangerous, they would stand up for what was right. As they made plans for their investigation, Jake realized something important. Heroes were not just the people with guns and ships and official titles. Heroes were also the people who chose to care, who chose to act, who chose to stand together when standing alone would be easier. Looking at Zara's hopeful face and his friend's determined expressions, Jake felt something he had never felt before. He felt like maybe, just maybe, they could win. 2 weeks of careful investigation had given Jake and his team more evidence than they had hoped for. The illegal factories were definitely making weapons, not goods for sale. The communication patterns Tom discovered showed coordination between groups that were supposed to be competing traders. Most disturbing of all, the timeline suggested something big was planned for the next few days. Jake sat in the maintenance room with his friends, looking at displays full of data that painted a scary picture. Station security was about to be tested in a way they were not prepared for. Look at this, Maria said, pointing to her power consumption charts. Tomorrow night, all the factory sections are scheduled to draw maximum power at the same time. That's not manufacturing. That's deployment. Deployment of what? Betty asked. Weapons, Zara said quietly. She had been studying the chemical analysis data. These compounds are not for making bombs to sell. They are for making bombs to use. Tomorrow night, they plan to attack multiple targets at once. Tom's computer work had revealed the most chilling detail. The communication hub shows they're planning to hit the main power station, the air recycling center, and the security headquarters. All at the same time. Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. They want to make the station uninhabitable. Force an evacuation so the Dominion can move in as rescuers. How many people live here? Zara asked. 40,000, Lisa replied. From 12 different species. If life support fails suddenly, most of them will die before rescue ships can arrive. The weight of that number settled over the room like a heavy blanket. 40,000 lives depending on systems that Jake and his friends maintained every day. 40,000 people who had no idea they were in danger. We have to tell security, Danny said. Give them all our evidence and let them handle it. Will they believe us? Jake asked. We're just maintenance workers. They might think we're making it up. And even if they believe us, what can they do? Betty added. Station security has maybe 50 officers. These factory groups probably have 10 times that many people. Zara stood up and walked to the window that looked out into space. Stars shone like tiny diamonds against the endless black. On my homeworld, we had a saying. The tree that bends with the storm survives when the tree that stands rigid breaks. What does that mean for us? Maria asked. Zara turned back to face them. It means we do not fight them the way they expect to be fought. We use our advantages, not theirs. What advantages? Tom asked. They have more people, more weapons, more resources. But they do not have what we have, Jake said, understanding what Zara meant. They don't know the station like we do. They don't understand how everything connects. And most importantly, they don't have friends. Betty looked confused. Friends? Think about it, Jake continued. Every maintenance worker on this station knows someone who knows someone. Every person we've helped, every small favor we've done, every time we've fixed something important. We have a network they can't see. Lisa's eyes lit up. You're talking about fighting them with people power. Not weapons, but connections. Exactly, Zara said. We cannot stop them from starting their attack, but we can stop them from succeeding. Jake pulled out a station map and spread it on the table. Here's what I'm thinking. We can't prevent the explosions, but we can minimize the damage. Betty, can you reroute air recycling so that if the main plant goes down, backup systems can handle essential areas? For a while, Betty said. Maybe 6 hours if I prepare the right valves. Maria, can you set up emergency power routing so critical systems stay online even if the main reactor is hit? Already thinking about it, Maria replied. I know every backup generator on this station. Tom, can you create a communication system that works even if they take down the main network? Tom grinned. I've been wanting to test my emergency mesh network idea. This gives me a good excuse. Danny, Lisa, can you two coordinate emergency supplies? Water, food, medical stuff? We know where everything is stored, Danny said. And which storage areas are most protected? Jake looked around at his friends. Fear was still there, but it was mixed with determination now. The most important thing is evacuation routes. If we can get people to safety faster than the attackers expect, we save lives. But how do we organize 40,000 people without causing panic? Lisa asked. We don't organize 40,000 people, Zara said. We organize the people they trust. The shopkeepers, the teachers, the small business owners, the people who are part of their daily lives. Like a chain reaction, Jake realized. Each person we talk to talks to 10 more people. Those people talk to 10 more. By tomorrow night, half the station knows something is wrong and what to do about it. Betty was already making notes. I know the head janitor for the residential sections. She knows every family with children. I know the guy who runs the Small Traders Association, Danny added. If he tells them to be ready for evacuation, they'll listen. The restaurant owners, Maria said. They feed everyone. They know everyone's routines. Medical staff, Tom suggested. Doctors and nurses who care about keeping people alive, as they planned. Jake realized they were creating something he had never seen before. Not a military operation, but a community response. Not orders from above, but cooperation from below. There's one more thing, Zara said. Some of the aliens we've been dealing with. The Vrathan traders, the others. They're not all committed to this plan. Some of them are just scared, following orders because they don't see another choice. You want to try to turn them? Jake asked. I want to offer them the choice we offered before. Be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Jake thought about this. It was risky. Trusting people who had threatened them could get them all killed. But Zara had been right about so many things. How do we contact them without tipping? Off the real fanatics? Leave that to me, Zara said. Catherians are good at reading people's intentions. I can tell who might listen and who won't. The next day was the longest of Jake's life. While he went about his normal maintenance duties, he also made contact with dozens of people throughout the station, not telling them everything, but letting them know that tonight might be dangerous and they should be ready to move quickly if needed. The response amazed him. These were not soldiers or police officers. They were shop clerks and food servers and people who cleaned offices. But when he told them that families might be in danger, they listened. When he explained that they might need to help their neighbors, they agreed. By evening, a quiet network of ordinary people was ready to act. Not to fight, but to protect. Not to attack, but to save lives. At 10 o'clock that night, the attacks began. Explosions rocked the main power station and the security headquarters. Emergency alarms blared throughout the station as lights flickered, and air recycling systems strained. But instead of panic, there was organized response. Instead of chaos, there was community action. Families moved to designated safe areas led by people they trusted. Emergency supplies appeared where they were needed most. Backup systems that should have failed kept working because Jake's team had prepared them in advance. The attackers had planned for confusion and terror. They found determination and cooperation instead. In the hydroponics bay, Jake and Zara coordinated rescue efforts with a group that included 3 Vrathan traders who had chosen to help instead of destroy, the same aliens who had once threatened. Zara were now carrying human children to safety. "This is not what they expected," the biggest Vrathan said, as explosions echoed from the upper levels. "No," Jake agreed. "They expected us to act like them, but we're not like them." "What makes humans different?" the Vrathan asked. Jake looked at Zara, who was using her plant knowledge to create emergency air purifiers from hydroponics equipment. He looked at his maintenance team friends, who were keeping life support running against impossible odds. He looked at ordinary people of a dozen species working together to save strangers. "We don't just protect our own," Jake said finally. "We protect anyone who needs protecting, even people who were our enemies yesterday." The Vrathan considered this. "Your species is strange, but maybe strange is good." By morning, the immediate crisis was over. Station security, helped by early warning from Jake's team, had captured most of the attackers. The Dominion's plan had failed because they had underestimated something simple but powerful. They had underestimated what happened when good people decided to care about each other. 3 months later, Jake stood in the rebuilt experimental section of the hydroponics bay. The moonbloom plant sat on Zara's work table, its silver leaves gleaming and white flowers glowing with renewed life. "It looks even more beautiful than before," Jake said. "Growing back from damage often does," Zara replied. "Plants that survive. Hard times become stronger, like people, like communities." Zara gestured around the bay, where aliens and humans worked side by side, growing food and sharing knowledge. "This station is not the same as it was before the attack. Better? Different. More connected. People learned that they could depend on each other when it mattered most." Jake nodded. The crisis had changed everything. The new station council included not just the wealthy traders and powerful officials, but the maintenance workers and shopkeepers and ordinary people who had proven they could be trusted with important decisions.